And this is our first weekend alone without David Bowie in the world as a living person. Thankfully, we have his music. And I know that all of you know that news. I don't know you, in that I don't know you that well. But I don't know your relationship to Mr. Bowie's music. If you're anything like me, it's in your DNA. And his passing was quite a shock, in that you know everyone's eventually going to topple off the coil. But some people you think will be able to escape mortality. That is to say, if there's some kind of higher power, or some kind of God, or some kind of A-OK, you don't have to die, that force would have given David Bowie a few extra centuries of life, because the world is so much better with him in it. Unfortunately, he was bound to the same mortality that all of us sadly are, and he went away. I woke up the other day on my Bon Jovi mobile, my Def Leppard Express. It's a rental. And I staggered forth to the front lounge and sat down, uncaffeinated. And I saw that we were camping out across the street from a hotel, which gave me all kinds of joy, because I thought we could probably steal free internet from the hotel. I was right. And so I went online, and I went on to HuffingtonPost.com. Yes, I know, left of center, but that's me. I kiss dogs and hug trees and want the world to be a better place. So I went to Huffington Post, and it said Golden Years on the headline, and I just knew that David Bowie had passed away, and I read it, and sure enough, I was sadly correct. And that's when Road Manager Ward, the road manager, he and I have been circling the world for damn near a decade now, he comes staggering out, and I said, "Good morning, David Bowie's gone." And he's like, "Gee, thanks." And so he had Mr. Bowie's last album, Black Star, in his laptop, so he set up a nice little sound system that we have. And we listened to David Bowie, and it was the first time I had ever heard David Bowie singing to me as a dead person. And not only is the record brave and mysterious, it is amazing. It is, and I'm not just saying that, this is not hyperbolic music critic. It is fantastic, and brave, and sad, and haunting. And almost every single lyric, he addresses the fact that he is going. And he does it with great nerve, and this great Bowie complexity. I played it, we were in Newcastle, UK. I played it 3 times that day. And as the last song, I believe is called I Can't Give Everything Away, as the last vocal trails off, I wanted to leap through the speaker and grab him and pull him back out, like, "Don't leave me, man." And so he's gone, and I finally broke my Bowie moratorium of not playing David Bowie, because I just couldn't face it. Finally, yesterday, I listened to Low for like the 850 millionth time, about 26 hours ago. And it was great to be back with David's music, like I can call him David, like I know him. About 100 years ago, in 1997, I was on tour with my bandmates. It was the summer of his festival season. And we were playing some massive festival, I believe, in Belgium. And we had played at like 8 a.m. in front of security, front of house sound, and like 3 drunken people in a tent. And we're like a little band, no one cares, so no one saw us. All we saw was like mist. And we finished the show. We have like another 12 hours of milling around, because we are now hemmed in by buses. And that's the reality of the European festival tours. If you're a little band like us, you don't play late at night, you play early in the day, and you can't get out. And so you just walk around hearing sounds that like negate each other. The different stages have PAs, and the sound is weird, and there's nowhere to go, and often it's hot, and the boredom is incredible. So you better learn to read. And which is such a drag for any band from South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, Louisiana. I'm not kidding. Anyway, I'm in that 10-hour, oh no, I've got nothing to do part of the festival ritual. And David Bowie walks by me, because he is headlining. He is the big damn deal of this festival. And he walks by. And you might think that I'm kind of some assertive person who walks up and goes, "I'm Henry Rollins, what are you going to do about that?" I'm so not that guy. I'm just not. And I just stood there in awe. So I love this guy. His music is just in my marrow. His music makes so much sense to me. He's a weirdo. I'm a weirdo. His lyrics have always been there for me. And so he walks by, and I kind of just stand up like, whoa, whoa, there he goes. There's no one with him. He's just walking alone, and I'm not going to walk over there and say anything. I'm happy just to observe. And he walks by, and for some reason, he stops, and he turns and looks at me, and there's no one around. He looks at me and says, "Ah, Rollins. And I go, running towards him. And I said, David! And we shook hands, and he said, have you had lunch yet? And I said, no. He said, well, let's go have lunch. And I checked my schedule. I'm like, hold on a minute, David. Yeah, I can give you 7 minutes. And so we went walking towards this massive catering tent. And he said, you said something really fascinating in a magazine last month. And he proceeded to quote some massive chunk of some interview I had done. And I was speechless that A, he reads my interviews, and B, he memorizes it and it was relevant to him. And I was like, the blood was draining from my body. And I said, you read an interview of mine? He goes, I read all of your interviews. I find you to be a very interesting person. And now I'm looking for traffic to run into so I can get running because my work here on this planet is done. And then he quotes me from a year-old interview from some German magazine I did. I'm like, oh, okay. And I want to say, shut up! And so we walk into the catering tent, which is like this massive tent full of like big Viking road crew, like, you know, braided beards and pierced eyebrows. These are men who can like lift up entire trucks and carry them. Where do you want it? And without them, there is no rock and roll. And they're drinking out of horns of mead, and like, arr, 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 arr. And we walk in, and everything stops because everyone clocks David Bowie. And everyone's like, whoa. David Bowie. The respect goes across the room in 2 seconds, and everyone puts down their club and their fork and just kind of silently acknowledges him, like. And David played it so well. He went, good afternoon, carry on. And everyone laughed and clapped and went, thank you. And we selected some food items and sat down and had this amazing, all but, you know, albeit brief conversation. And it went from here to here to here to here. He's, as you know, he's curious about everything. He was all over art, all over history, all over culture, and all over music. Lots of reports of David Bowie going to see everything from raves to local bands. The guy was curious. Even after his own shows, he would go out and see other bands play. And so at one point I said, you know the great author Hubert Selby, the author of Last Exit to Brooklyn? And he went, yeah, I love his work. I go, yeah, he's incredible. I said, he's a buddy of mine, and I want to do an audiobook project with him, where he reads some of his texts. And I want to have Lou Reed play guitar. And I know that Lou Reed is a big fan of Hubert Selby because I've read Lou Reed's interviews where he name-checks Selby quite often. They're two legendary New Yorkers. And the idea of putting them onto one recording, I think, would be awesome. There wouldn't be anyone who wouldn't want to check that out. What do you think? He said, that is a great idea. And I said, my arms are too short to reach out to Lou Reed, and so the project just sits in my mind. And then he says, well, I'll contact Lou for you and tell him to get in touch. Which I didn't want to say, you liar. But I just thought he was being polite. Like he was just you know, being grand and just friendly. You know, oh, okay, fine. You know, put it under the pillow, I'll smoke it in the morning. And my bandmates had been alerted. Your stupid singer is sitting with David Bowie in the catering tent. And all of a sudden, for like 8 minutes, my bandmates like me, and they come running into the tent, and they stand around the table. Henry, can you introduce us to your friend? And these guys pride themselves on being impressed by nothing. Meanwhile, I am a fan of so many bands, of so many people. I was like, oh, what is that band? Like, hey man, we can't acknowledge anything because we are so cool. I can't stand, I love them, but I can't stand that thing, like, oh, I'm too cool to be a fan. I'm a fan of so much stuff. My record collection, it looks like 5 people's records collections. It's like, you're into all that, and I might not get to listen to all of it, but damn it, I'm gonna try. And so he's very, very grand and gives us a few more minutes of his time, but he's going on, you know, like in a couple of hours. So he said, lads, I have to leave and put my face on. And we all shook his hand and he went away. And later that afternoon, I encountered Big Charlie, his road manager, bodyguard, this mountain of a man. I said, hey, Big Charlie, and I called him Big Charlie. I thought he'd dig it. I said, hey, Big Charlie, can my bandmates and I, can we have any vantage point to view the show and not have to go out front? Just so, you know, the hoi polloi, the rabble, all like 22,000 of them. And he said, yeah, we have stage right, which would be that one there. We have stage right set up with a full stereo monitor system with a front of house mix. and you are welcome to be there. You can be invited, just tell them Big Charlie said it was okay. And so at gig time, we all run up the side, and we said, Big Charlie said we could be here. They all went, okay. And we got to watch David and his band from, several paces away. And to watch David Bowie engage with an audience from that vantage point was amazing. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. He was incredible. And he sang perfectly. The band was amazing. And they even covered Oh Superman by Laurie Anderson, which just knocked me out because I love that song. Anyway, the show came to an end, and I went back to my tour bus like, wow, we met David Bowie, and we saw him play, and it was so not a letdown. The whole thing was amazing. And so several days later, we're back from that leg of that tour, and I'm back in my micro apartment in New York City, and my phone rings, which is not usual. I don't know many people, and so my phone rarely rings. And so I have to remember I have a phone, and then I have to find it. And it's under all this paper, so I go digging through the paper, like, wow, it actually works. And I pick up the phone, amazed that anyone would call me. And I said, this is Henry. And my DNA recognized the voice before my ears did. Hello, Henry. This is Lou Reed. David said you wanted to talk to me. Ah! And so that's how I met Lou Reed. And so David Bowie ends up, being this stand-up guy for little old me. And it was wonderful to have made contact with the man for like 15 minutes or whatever it was, but it was huge. And for those of you, I can't tell you what to do, you're grown-up adults, but for those of you who have not investigated the David Bowie catalog, I urge you to give it a shot. Those of you who have been indoctrinated, if you have someone with you who hasn't, take them aside next weekend and immerse them. It's just one of the greatest rides in rock and roll. Just my opinion. When the smoke clears and some professor finally writes the real book on rock and roll, or they finally get it right at the top of the mountain, of course, will be the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, etc. But also up there will be Joy Division and David Bowie, because both bands in their own way, just incredible, incredible, incredible.